Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our readings through the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn now to the very heart of the drum tap section, the wound dresser. This is poem number 21 of the 43 poems of drum taps. Some have argued this may be the finest hospital poem that's ever been written. We will see this poem in some ways as a culmination of the last several poems. It is going to be difficult for us to read. It is graphic. It does make us struggle, this four-part poem that we will look at. I want to remind you that in the poem To Thee, O Cause, we've been reminding ourselves with all of these drum taps lectures that Whitman said, my book and the war are one. And to that degree, I've been arguing for a sustained theodicy. I want to also, though, remind you that in Song of Myself, passage 33, Whitman said it this way: I do not ask the wounded person how he feels. I myself become the wounded person. It is that line from the Bhagavad Gita, to see oneself in all being and all being in oneself. And I think this is the goal of the sustained theodicy that is Leaves of Grass, and especially is drum taps, and then especially is this really amazing poem, Wound Dresser. The assumptions are that you have been following our stuff at learnstrong.net. Down the left-hand side, Talks with Walt is our playlist. And we've been talking ever since the very first word come, which will be an important word for us in this poem. We did an introductory set of comments for drum taps, and we just finished The Year That Trembled. Our Nortons, as we like to reference our background information, will say that in its first three editions of 1865, 67, and 71, the poem was actually entitled The Dresser, receiving its present title in 1876. It has always remained in the drum taps group, and its content is a faithful description of Whitman's ministrations to the war wounded in Washington hospitals. In fact, lines 4, 5, and 6, which first appeared in 1871 and 76 as a prefatory epigraph for the whole of drum taps group, are Whitman's recognition of his true role as the compassionate comforter of all soldiers, North and South, the poet of Reconciliation of 1865, who knew that, quote, war and all its deeds of carnage must in time be utterly lost, end quote. In 1898, his executor, Richard Maurice Burke, who we've mentioned before, used this title for his edition of Whitman's Letters to Soldiers during the war. Now, I want to as well let you know that Whitman, a great letter writer himself, said to his mother in a letter about his voluntary service, quote, you can have no idea how these sick and dying youngsters cling to a fellow, and how fascinating it is with its hospital surroundings of sadness and scenes of repulsion and death. I want to as well point out the conversational nature of this poem. This poem is one of several poems of Leaves of Grass that made me want to call this series of studies of all of the poems of Leaves of Grass Talks with Walt, because I think the conversational power of the poem is going to be for us self-evident. Let's work now section by section, and I wish I had time to read the poem in its entirety before I exegete, but it's too long, and so I just want to I want to move through it quickly. Notice we'll begin first of all with an old man. An old man bending. Now, ironically, during the actual time of the war, Whitman was in his 40s, but when you look at pictures, you will see what looks like an old man. And as we have said already, taking care of soldiers in the capacity that he took care of led to Whitman's health being damaged, and ultimately dying much younger than he probably could have or should have. An old man bending, I come among new faces, years looking backward. It's going to be an amazing idea that he's going to be asked about what was it like, bending, looking backward, resuming in answer to children, which takes us obviously to Song of Myself 6. Come, I told you the significance of this word, the very first word of the deathbed edition of Leaves of Grass. Come, tell us, old man, as from young men and maidens that love me, and then in parenthetics, aroused and angry, I thought I had fought to beat the alarum and urge relentless war. That takes us back to the opening poems of drum taps. But soon my fingers failed me, my face drooped, and I resigned myself. Go back to a year that trembled and reeled beneath me with this idea of resignation. I resigned myself to sit by the wounded and soothe them, or silently watch the dead. Watching the dead is a phrase used only one time in Leaves of Grass, and it's right here. Years hence, go back to Brooklyn Ferry, passage 2, with this use of the word hence in this way. Years hence of these scenes, of these furious passions, these chances of unsurpassed heroes. Remember in Song of Myself 18, to all generals that lost engagements and all overcome heroes. His use of the word heroes, to the leavened soil they trod, the poems of heroes, he will say it that way, of unsurpassed heroes, and then another parenthetic, was one side so brave, the other was equally brave, in parenthetic. This is crucial to remember, is that Whitman at the end of his life was ministering as much to rebel soldiers as he was to Union soldiers, and by all accounts treated them as co-equals. It's quite a remarkable thing. The word now puts us in the immediate present. Now be witness again, and again, this idea of being being brave. We saw this in, as I pondered in silence, I above all permitted brave soldiers, and the need to witness again about those brave soldiers. Of course, Centenarian's story is going to be standing behind all of this. Witness again, paint the mightiest armies of earth. So much of Homer and Virgil in these lines, again, painting with words. We've already seen this in Leaves of Grass. Of those armies, so rapid, so wondrous, what saw you to tell us, is what the young kids are asking him. In other words, when he was older, you're one of those guys that were around during the war. Yeah. You like worked in the hospital? Yeah. What was it like? Tell us about it. What stays with you latest and deepest? Now, this idea of deepest is going to be central to this poem, long and deep. Of curious panics. The word curious, as we've said already, is such a compelling word. Of hard-fought engagements or sieges tremendous, what deepest remains. And again, this idea of witnessing takes us back to Song of Myself, passage 4. I witness and wait. You'll remember during our study of Song of Myself, I kept coming back to that idea. And here it is again. In other words, what is it that remains with you? And this to me is the key. And this is why I call Leaves of Grass a sustained theodicy, to try to answer the question of what's the point of all of this horror, all of this bloodshed, all of this death. Now, he will get to it in passages 2 and following. Oh, maidens and young men, I love, and that love me. Again, the intimacy. What you ask of my days, those the strangest and sudden, your talking, recalls again, talks with Walt here. And again, the use of the word sudden is so important. Soldier alert, I arrive after a long march covered with sweat and dust in the nick of time. Only use ever in Leaves of Grass is for nick of time. I come, I told you about this word come. Plunge in the fight. Amazing, the echo of plunge from Song of Myself, passage 5. Plunge your tongue into the bare stripped heart and all of that. Only there, obviously, it was a more sexual rendering. Here, I plunge into the fight, loudly shout in the rush of successful charge, entered the captured works, yet lo, like a swift-running river, they fade, these memories, the martial memories fade, pass and are gone, they fade. I dwell not on soldiers' perils or soldiers' joys, and then in parenthetics, both I remember well, again, back to the Centenarian story. Many the hardships, few the joys, yet I was content, in parenthetic. But, now we're back to it. In silence, in dreams, projections, while the world of gain and appearance and mirth goes on, right? That idea that everything after the war, it's just like everything picks up and back we go. So soon, what is over, forgotten. These are some of the most compelling lines in a sustained theodicy of Leaves of Grass. And waves wash the imprints off the sand. You'll remember Spencer's Sonnet 75 playing a similar kind of game. Certainly Whitman would have known that line. With hinged knees, we're going to hear this several times, bending down. Returning, I enter the doors. We're going to have a lot of Christ-like imagery here. We're going to have a lot of Dante imagery here. I enter the doors, another parenthetic. While for you up there, whoever you are, follow without noise and be of strong heart, in parenthetic. Of course, this you up there takes us back to Ebbed with the Ocean, passage 4. Of course, Brooklyn Ferry, passages 3 and 7. I'm looking at you now, and all of that. This is brilliant. That in the middle of Drum Taps, in the middle of Leaves of Grass, Whitman one more time reminds you that he's watching you, he's watching me. and the same way that we are watching him. And you up there is a brilliant way to say it. Whoever you are, follow without noise and be of strong heart. And as I said, you got to be of strong heart to read these poems. And what we're about to read, there are going to be some images here that are deeply unsettling. Notice, bearing the bandages. Now it's just going to be, well, almost like a video to just show you what it is that he was doing. Bearing the bandages, water and sponge, straight and swift to my wounded I go. Notice it's my wounded. Where they lie on the ground, we've seen this already, after the battle brought in, where their priceless blood reddens the grass, the ground, or to the rows of the hospital tent, or under the roofed hospital, again, 8 times in Drum Tap's hospital is mentioned, to the long rows of cots up and down each side, I return. So here it is. I'm going back in time. What was it like to be a nurse for those years in the Civil War? He says, to each and all, one after another, I draw near, not one do I miss. In other words, there's so many. An attendant follows holding a tray. He carries a refuse pail, soon to be filled with clotted rags and blood, emptied and filled again. In other words, just the monotony of day after day after day of seeing so many wounded. I onward go. We're going to see this on I go in a second. I onward go. I stop. Pure Dante here, with hinged knees again and steady hand to dress wounds. Obviously, wound dresser. I am firm with each. The pangs are sharp yet unavoidable. It's hard to know if they're the pangs of the soldier or the wounded, or the pangs of obviously the minister. One turns to me, and again, this is the genius of what he's done again and again in Drum Taps. Right? He's gone from a large picture down to show us a single one, and obviously we've seen this several times. A march in the ranks, hard pressed, comes to mind with that white as a lily face. One turns to me as appealing eyes. Poor boy, notice after the dash. I never knew you. Now he's speaking directly to the young kid. Yet I think I could not refuse this moment to die for you if that would save you. And the Christ-like imagery will continue all the way to the wounding in the side of passage 3. And in passage 3 now, on I go. Again, more Dante referencing open doors of time, open hospital doors. Again, the idea of doors from our study of Dante is prodigious. So much of Drum Taps, as I said, is hinged to use this word that he uses, to Dante. And we've given full lectures on the Divine Comedy at learnstrong.net if you want to go back and review. And then, of course, the imagery now becomes almost grotesque. The crushed head I dress, poor crazed hand, tear not the bandage away. It's easy reminding again, because the pain. The neck of the cavalryman with a bullet through and through I examine. Hard the breathing rattles. These are hard lines to read, aren't they? Quite glazed already the eye, yet life struggles hard. And then again the word come. Come, sweet death, be persuaded, oh beautiful death. The only use of beautiful death in all of Lisa Grass is here. In mercy, come quickly. And of course, Whitman's readers would immediately go to Revelation 22:20 with that Lord come quickly final. The last words of the Christian New Testament are come quickly, and here they're used. By the way, notice this idea is going to be played out over and over again. The idea of looking on the dead, or the soon to be dead. It's a disturbing, obviously a disturbing word picture. From the stump of the arm, it's just going to get more disturbing. The amputated hand, I undo the clotted lint, remove the slough, wash off the matter and blood. Back on his pillow, the soldier bends with curved neck. You'll remember this phrasing being used in I Sing the Body Electric too. And side falling head, obviously the excruciating pain. His eyes are closed, his face is pale. He does not look on the bloody stump and has not yet looked on it. I think this is amazing. It's impossible or difficult to look at the catastrophe of war, I think is the symbolism that's in play here. I dress a wound in the side, deep, and of course this idea of the wound in the side takes us to the Isaiah 53:5 passage, and of course to the John 19:34, wounding of the side of Christ on the cross, and then obviously the John 20:24, the touching of the wound by Thomas. Whitman's readers of his day would immediately identify what's going on here with the Christology. But a day or two more, for see the frame all wasted and sinking, and the yellow-blue countenance see. In other words, coloration again in Drum Taps. From earlier poems, it was lily. Then notice here it's this yellow-blue countenance, as obviously the dying is starting to happen. And this is, again, as we said, the worst thing that could happen to a soldier in the Civil War was actually not death immediately. It was, in fact, this wounding that would happen in different body parts, and then slowly, well, here he says it. I dress the perforated shoulder, the foot with the bullet wound, all of these wounds that shouldn't be that big of a deal, but of course because of the nature of the hospitalization, so much happening here. Cleanse the one with a gnawing and putrid gangrene. Gnawing takes us back to Song of Myself 36, the hiss of the surgeon's knife and the gnawing teeth of his saw. Well, I told you when we saw that set of lines in Song of Myself 36 that we would come back to it, and here we are now back at it. Cleanse the one with a gnawing and putrid gangrene, only use of putrid and gangrene. So sickening. Notice the use of the word so over and over again now as we end this poem. So offensive, and of course offensive is an interesting word, because offensive can mean disgusting, but it can also mean to be on offense in a battle scene. While the attendant stands behind beside me holding the tray and pail. In other words, the attendant can do nothing, just like really the wound dresser is doing nothing, helplessness. I am faithful. I do not give out. Again, we're back to this perseveres in the poem, not the pilot. The fractured thigh, the knee, the wound in the abdomen. Again, notice all the different body parts being examined here. These and more I dress with impassive hand, yet deep in my breast a fire, a burning flame. You'll remember I sit and look out and say nothing and am silent. Impassive hand, yet deep in my breast a fire and a burning flame. Do you remember from starting from Paumanok 6, I will lift what has too long kept down those smoldering fires. Notice that the next poem will be too long. We'll begin to see some unity in Leaves of Grass as we play this game. Impassive hand, by the way, is only used one time in drum taps, and it's right here. Finally, and now to finish part 4, it's as if he's taken us in to see the exactitude of the pain and suffering, and now begin to pull back. Thus, in silence, in dreams, projections, returning, resuming, I thread my way. And we think of thread, obviously Ariadne. We think of the idea of the weaving that happens in Homer's Odyssey. I thread my way through the hospitals, and again, it's just pure Dante, right? The hurt and wounded I pacify with soothing hand. You'll remember the word soothing being used in Song of Joys. I sit by the restless all the dark night. Some are so young. Again, the use of the word so. Some suffer so much. I recall the experience, sweet and sad. It's amazing. His theodicy allows for him to say what he's witnessing here is sweet. Sweet and sad. Many a soldier's loving arms around this neck have crossed and rested. Many a soldier's kiss dwells on these bearded lips. You remember in Song of Myself, passage 46, I kiss you with a goodbye kiss, right? What are we going to say at 2a? Well, sometimes I think the only response to great suffering is to just be there and to experience the suffering with the sufferer. And of course, the only sin is to forget. I think this is foundational to Whitman's theodicy. But it is sometimes hard because it's so deep, as he will say. At 2b, a 4-part poem with different perspectives. Obviously, all of the allusions to Christ and the crucifixion. I love that you up there from passage 2 of this poem, that personal exchange. At 3a, I mentioned obviously the Isaiah passage and the John passage to bring a certain kind of Christology to this, a compassionate view of the wound dresser. Finally, how are we going to own a poem like this? Well, I think we can ask 2 pertinent questions here, and it will make sense now. Who has dressed your wounds? And to whom have you ministered and dressed wounds? I hope that Whitman is dressing your wounds. Thank you.